I knew that they had a budget, a financial budget for the growth of their company. And I hooked them up because I actually put them on 6 episodes instead of the 3 that I promised. So I under-promised and I over-delivered.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Hey, what's up, podcaster? It is your host, Adam, AAA Adams, and I am talking about when we should monetize our podcast. So a lot of people ask me, they'll come on to either launch a podcast with Grow Your Show, or they'll be a listener of the podcast on podcasting and they'll just reach out and ask a couple questions. One of the ones that just seems to come up quite a bit is, when should I start thinking about monetizing? And I think it's a good enough question that I could bring it out to you today to kind of give you a couple of ideas, a couple of things to think about monetizing. And first and foremost, I want to at least inspire you to know that it doesn't have to wait. Okay, it can wait. It could wait. There's benefits maybe to waiting in some cases, but you don't have to wait. You certainly don't have to wait. So I'm going to start by giving an argument of why you wouldn't want to wait. And then I'll tell you how quickly I monetized my very first show and how many listeners I had. So here's the argument to why you wouldn't want to wait. If you don't do it right away, if you don't have some sort of ad or break in the beginning, once you finally do have an ad or a break, your listener who has been conditioned to never hear any type of advertising or sponsoring or self-promotion ever is probably going to feel let down. They're probably going to be like, oh, this gal, she was so good. I love listening to her podcast. And now it's just ads after ad after ad. She's a sellout. Why did she start doing ads? I'm not listening to this show anymore. But if you simply start by having some type of ad or shout out, even in the first episode, they can never say that. They can never feel like you let them down because of that. You can just have the ads. I don't have other people sponsoring my podcast. You've probably never heard anytime ever an ad of somebody else. Now, I have mentioned some good resources that I love. For example, Poddex. We have an affiliate relationship with Poddex. The affiliate relationship is in the show notes with Poddex. Poddex is a cool thing that can help you break the ice with your guest on your podcast. You can ask them these questions. You get to know them on a different level. So Poddex is a wonderful thing. I'm happy about it. And right now I'm technically advertising for them, but I hope it doesn't feel like an ad. And I hope you don't feel like I'm a sellout, because I frequently will mention things like that. I'll also mention affiliate relationship stuff that I have with Amazon. For example, we vetted some specific materials, some different webcams, microphones, mic stands, soundproofing for your walls, lighting for your studio, and some other equipment that you might need for your podcast. So if you're ready to upgrade your equipment or get your very first affordable mic, you can go to growyourshow.com/PDF. I will mention that on many different podcasts. It's of value to my listener, but I'll mention it on podcasts. So if I ever had an ad of somebody else, I don't think you would be as let down. I don't think you'd be like, oh, what a sellout, because I started in the beginning. So that's the argument to why you'd want to have some sort of ad even in the beginning. Now, second, I will share with you how quickly I monetized my very first show. Not this show, but the show that I have sold over 2 years before today. 2 years ago, more than 2 years, I sold a podcast called Creative Real Estate. I sold that show to Jason, and I owned it for a few years before that. Well, guess what? I monetized on the very first episode. The first 3 episodes, I already had a sponsor. I reached out to a company because the microphone and stuff cost me several $100. I was like, damn, it's a lot of money to spend. we had a $500 microphone. I don't even use a $500 microphone anymore. I use a great mic, but it's $250. And I have some other mics at growyourshow.com/PDF where they're like $20, $69, $99. Anyway, they're really good price. And I would prefer those over the $500 mic that I had. At any rate, on our very first episode, because the podcast, we were investing in the podcast, getting like all these just different equipment. Okay. I reached out to a person that had the same avatar as I had. And I wanted to give them some business, just like I want to give the Poddex guy some business. I believe in the product. I think it's great. I want them to have more business. I want more of you to use that product because I think you'll be a better show host when you do. And so I believe in it. I'm willing to offer it. Same thing with his. And I never even had one listener. I didn't have a single listener yet. I reached out to him. I said, we're starting a podcast. We just want to cover the equipment. I am looking for $300 and you would be on the first 3 episodes. Would you like to be part of it? So we made $100 an episode before we ever had a listener by working with somebody who had our exact same avatar, somebody who I knew was sponsoring other types of like events and they were advertising online. I knew that they had a budget, a financial budget for the growth of their company. And I hooked them up because I actually put them on 6 episodes instead of the 3 that I promised. So I under promised and I over delivered. So technically I only made $50 an episode if you did the math there. But at any rate, I reached out to them, knew they had the same avatar as me. And before I ever had one listener, I already had money coming into the podcast. So when should you think about monetizing your show? You can think about it at any time. I want you to really believe that first threshold, if you will, is just simply because you have a podcast. Other people are going to tell you a completely different story. Most people will tell you a completely different story. Most people are people that fit into some sort of box. And everything that they do needs to fit inside a certain box. And so their first threshold is 3,000 downloads per episode. They're like, don't even think about it until you have 3,000 downloads per episode. Or they'll say something like, you want to have at least 500 downloads per episode because of the CPM model, cost per mil, cost per thousand. And so if you want to make 10, 20, 30, $40 an episode, you've got to have a minimum of 500 downloads per episode to even make it worth it. Well, guys and gals, you don't have to effing fit in this effing box. It makes me so mad. You don't have to fit in a CPM model. Okay? You don't have to get paid cost per meal, $40 per thousand. And that means you're only making $20 per episode if you have 500 listeners. Hell no. Don't fit yourself into this box. Or other people will say, you can't even get a CPM model because you don't have 10,000 or 30,000 downloads per month. If you don't have 10,000 or 30,000, they have these thresholds. You can't monetize for shit. Like they just believe in their little box because they've done it in the box and it worked in the box and somebody else did it in the box and it worked in the box. So they think it doesn't work outside the box. And I'm just here to share with you, it works outside the box. You don't have to have a single listener to monetize something. And I don't believe in the CPM model anyway. I think the CPM model is crap. Why would I want to make $40 per thousand people that listen? I can make in my own company hundreds of thousands of dollars per thousand listeners. So why would I waste my time and effort on having a sponsor pay me $40 for an episode because I have 1,000 listeners? By the way, 1,000 listeners is a lot. If you're listening, there's a good chance, the probability is on favor of you having less than 300 downloads per episode. So it'd be quite challenging to fit into all of these other people's boxes. I want you to leave this episode thinking there are other ways to do this. It's not just that way. I don't have to have a certain amount of downloads per episode. It will help. It'll help. The more listeners you have, the more chances you have of sponsorship. Okay. It will help. It is beneficial. But don't put yourself into a box just because other people say that there is a box. My first podcast was called Creative Real Estate. It was a podcast teaching people how to buy real estate with literally no money. I never had a coaching program. I wasn't trying to sell a bunch of crap. I wasn't trying to sell this dream. I did it. I experienced it. I bought a lot of real estate without any of my own money. Until I finally had money, then I could buy money with money. But everybody else was telling me you need at least 20% down in order to close on anything. Well, the first $10 million of real estate deals that I bought with none of my own money. I never used 20% down until I bought at least $10 million. And I got up to over $100 million of ownership of things that I owned with partners. And it was because I was willing to think outside the box. In fact, the whole ending of the Creative Real Estate podcast was, until next time, think outside the box. And I implore you, if you want to enjoy making money through your show, don't hold yourself back because of what other people have said is the box. Think outside the box. Find another way. Like I did by reaching out to somebody with my exact avatar and saying, hey, I want to cover some of my equipment. I think he did $300. So anyway, you can monetize. You can monetize today. It doesn't matter. You can monetize today. You don't have to wait. You don't have to fit in a box. If you want help with this, let me know. team@growyourshow.com. We can support you. We can help you. I want you to monetize. I don't want you to be like stuck in this box and never able to do it. So until next time, I feel nostalgic saying this. Think outside the box. You're not alone if you're ready to either get your very first affordable microphone or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to some legit podcasting studio equipment. Because on all of the forums over the last few months, I'm seeing this all the time. Even my own personal clients that work with my team, they're ready to get that next microphone. They're asking us for it. Additionally, when I'm on discovery calls with potential clients, they're always asking for this stuff. Hey, what mic do you recommend? Hey, what lighting do you recommend? What webcam should I be using? So many questions. And so what we did, my whole team has put together a PDF so that if you're one of those people who is looking to either get your very first affordable microphone, or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to more professional podcast studio equipment, whether it's soundproofing or whatever, we've got you covered by going to growyourshow.com/PDF. And you can download the PDF for free, or right there on the webpage is everything that you would have and you don't need to download the PDF. Either way, just go to growyourshow.com/PDF, which will put you to the podcasting equipment that me and my team have personally vetted. I'll see you on the next episode.